Matapos ang pananalasa ng sunod-sunod na bagyo at ang pagpapatupad ng sinasabing longest COVID-19 lockdown sa mundo, Asia's worst economic performer daw ang Pilipinas. Pero sabi ng Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas, the worst is over. Here's Richard Haydarian.
Ang COVID-19 pandemic ay isang public health crisis, but it's also an economic crisis, especially dito sa Pilipinas, which is expected to be among the worst hit countries in the world. In fact, over the past 3 quarters, sunod-sunod yung contraction in Philippine economy. Over the past decade, the Philippines has been hailed as a rising tiger economy and one of the, if not the, fastest growing economy in Southeast Asia. Unfortunately, this year, it will be the worst hit. Between 2019 and 2025, the Philippines is expected to suffer a 13 points decline from its pre-pandemic forecast in terms of GDP growth. Now, maraming factors na nag-contribute dyan sa ating economic crisis. Kasama dyan yung declining remittances from OFWs, a lot of them returning home dahil nagsasara din ng mga business abroad, including in the Middle East and parts of Asia and Europe. Kasama din dyan yung declining domestic spending and investment. And the other one, relatively weak response by the Philippine government when it comes to economic recovery program. Another major factor is yung delayed, nonetheless protracted and very strict lockdown, which shut down up to 75% of economic activity at some point in this year. Ito ay ayon sa International Monetary Fund. Pagdating sa Indonesia, which has had much more relaxed restrictions and similarly high COVID-19 cases like the Philippines, their economy is expected to shrink by almost 1.5%. That's a huge difference with the Philippines, which is expected to shrink between 8 to 9% in terms of its GDP. Samantala, some of our neighbors like Vietnam and China will actually grow in terms of their GDP this year. And with the Philippines suffering economically, baka we'll be even more dependent on our major neighbors, including China. Nonetheless, there is some sort of a silver lining here. One of the things that we have noticed over the past year is the strengthening of Philippine pesos. That means our debt denominated in dollars, yung ating mga utang in dollars, will have a lower value. Perhaps the worst is over for the Philippine economy and hopefully also for the COVID-19 infections dahil nga we're also gonna have vaccines soon. But the question is, how effective has the government been in ensuring that we can recover from this steep economic decline, the worst in the region and among the worst in the world, in the fastest and best way possible? Ako po si Richard Haydarian. Stand with us, stand for truth.